Oh, hey there, guys. You just caught me in the middle of serenading my cat. Anyway, I got a rather uncommon channel update for you guys today, and there's gonna be a couple things I want to cover here, so let's just start getting into it. First off, the YouTube monetization policy. If you follow me on Twitter or Discord, chances are you already know my situation, but if you're not there, let me explain. Is my channel demonetized? Well, obviously, yeah, a lot of it is. But most of it makes sense, I'm not really upset about it. But some of them are very suspect, and I think YouTube really needs to address this issue. Take for instance my Tokyo Xanadu review. While it was still private, had no views, no tags, no description, and a default title and thumbnail, it was listed as not ad-friendly. The video itself contains nothing against the guidelines, and all I can think is that the algorithm doesn't recognize the word Xanadu, and so it was listed as guilty until proven innocent. This is backwards from how I think it should be. Regardless, within 2 days, monetization was reinstated. This, of course, for channels not as small as mine, means the biggest view window was ad-free. And that can really set people back. And with small channels, it will really set them back and discourage them from making more content, especially because you need to get 1,000 views in 7 days to file a manual appeal. I've never made money on YouTube, so I don't really care too much about this happening to me, but on principle, this just feels wrong. Furthermore, videos like my Nintendo using tits to sell Switch video kept their monetization. This video goes against almost all the guidelines entirely, and although I went through my channel and cleaned up some tags and titles, I shit you not, at the time I had Nintendo Switch porn games as a tag for this video. So as stated earlier, the decision-making process for monetizing videos and demonetizing videos is very suspect. The weirdest of all happened with my Highway Blossoms review. At first it was monetized, then when my channel was hit, it was demonetized. 2 days later, it was re-monetized, and 2 days ago, it was re-demonetized, despite no changes or manual review requested. I really don't get this algorithm at all, but I'll keep trucking as I always have. Next, this one is kinda weird and a little bit embarrassing, but just hear me out and don't panic when you hear the P word I'm about to use. Do you ever Google your own name or the name of people you follow? I do sometimes, and sometimes I find interesting things. What I'm about to show you, I'm doing so you hear it from me first. If you Google my channel name, you might find that I started here's the big P word, a Patreon account. Don't freak out, I did not start this to start asking for money. My channel is too small for Patreon funds to help me increase my production or schedule in any way. When everything was demonetized, I knew that if I ever wanted this to be an avenue I could make financial gain on, I would need to look into other avenues than YouTube's ad system. So I started the Patreon in the event that the day would ever come. It says flat out on the page I don't intend on using it for anything, and it's just there so that nobody else claims my name or pretends to be me. I want the existence of this Patreon to be completely ignored until the day I feel I'm ready to officially roll it out. And that day is a long time away, so please, if you Google my name and you find it, know that it's not here for me to start shilling. Yet. Lastly, this ad crisis literally changed nothing about what I get out of doing YouTube. I've never made money here, that hasn't changed. Someday I might make a couple dollars, but who knows. So, as it is, things are going to stay the way they've always been. Moving on to point 2. I want to talk about the politics on my channel, or lack thereof, because this is something I've always avoided, and for what I think is good reason, but it kinda has to be brought up now. While I make it no secret that ass and titties are not a bad thing, and I'd be well inclined to distrust people who dislike ass and titties entirely, the point of my channel is not to denigrate everything to just ass and titties. When I review a game, I try to be as thorough as possible and even strip away some of the sexual aspects of the game to show that there's far more to it than just that. I want to show what lies beneath the surface appeal of these games. I do this for a reason, and you can argue this might be a political reason, but I don't really think of it on those terms. Ecchi games have a very negative stereotype behind them, and people who play them are often very negatively stereotyped as well. I want to review these games rather thoroughly and as objectively as possible without drawing too much attention to the fact that they are hypersexualized. I do this so that people can see everything a game has to offer. When not presenting a review through the lens of sex is good or sex is bad, I feel people are more inclined to let down their defenses about their preconceived notions of sex in games and give a more critical listen to what I actually have to say about them. When listening with a lack of defense like this, I hope people can come to see that perhaps these things aren't all they cast them as. That said, negative stereotypes exist for a reason. Some games are just as bad as people's biases would expect them to be, and unfortunately, some people are too. While I believe in freedom of speech, and I'll let you guys make whatever takeaway from a game review you want, I feel I have to set the record straight on something. And this is where it gets a little bit awkward. When I review a game like Highway Blossoms and sing the praises of the characters, and I get a comment from a negative stereotype like this, do you know how hard it is for me to keep attention to a story when I feel like jerking off and jizzing on the girl's tits? Can we please bring attention to this issue? I gotta say, as much as somebody is entitled to this perspective, I don't really support the notion. I try my best to credit games where they deserve credit, and comments like this seem to completely discredit the actual contents of the game and denigrate it to something I perceive as just insultingly shallow. Again, people can have this perspective all they want, but unfortunately where part of my hope is to cleanse some of the negative stereotypes around this kind of thing, these comments become antithetical to what I actually do and what I actually hope to achieve. I review as free from bias as I can possibly muster, so people with bias can hopefully see past them. The same thing goes in the opposite direction. Biases have no place in a review. If somebody comes to the channel to express that all games with sexual content are inherently bad, and the people who play them are too, I don't support that at all either. My channel is not a place I intend to be used to denigrate these games to either insultingly shallow perspective. Furthermore, and I state this because I need to, my channel is not a place to express grievances against particular groups, genders, races, religions, etc. So, when you are of the conspiracy theory that when a guy and girl are fooling around and that's code for sex until I feel like regretting it on the woman's part, we have a huge problem. I draw a hard line on this. People are people, not hive-minded groups, and we respect people on a person-to-person basis and judge people based on their individual merits. This kind of shit really isn't tolerated from me. I reject the notions of identity politics in almost every regard from all sides of the fence, so please don't bring bullshit like this onto my Discord, and don't pull it into my reviews. These comments were left by viewers, and I have since deleted them to protect the identity of the ones who left it. Directing hate, vitriol, or harassment is not my intent. My intent is simply to state my perspective and let you guys know where I'm coming from. While we may all share in the same kinds of games and content, we may do it from angles that are incompatible with each other. That just because I like some of the games you like, it doesn't mean I view them the same way. Half the time, these things don't even strike me as sexual, and I'll never simply address them as fat material. Besides, God knows how my fiancé would feel if I did. Or my cat. Where I want to present these things without bias and hopefully quell people's concerns about the genre, it really doesn't help if they can scroll to the comment section and see comments like, "I want to stick my dick in that cum dumpster so hard." Then they turn around and laterally associate that with me, the genre, and all of us who play these games who aren't that shallow. Now, it's not like I haven't put politics in my video, and I'm not going to say that I haven't. Generally, if I include them at all, it's to poke a bit of fun at controversy that surrounds a game, and to just dismiss the controversy, get it out of the way, and move on, so the review can proceed without that dark cloud over it. It is to show that my review is going to happen independent of the controversy around it. Whether doing this helps or not, I really don't know. Maybe it's best to just not mention it. But at the same time, allowing people to draw their own conclusions to where they think I might be coming from hasn't completely worked either. I have also included clips in my videos from the US presidential debates. I make a point to poke equal fun at all candidates across my videos, however, because I don't want people inundated by the idea that I, as a Canadian, somehow support any one candidate over the other, as such a thing would poison the perspective of a viewer and laterally lead them to discrediting the review based on such a thing. Next, some of you may remember a time where I used numerical ratings. I done away with those a long time ago because I don't always feel they truly reflect the experience, and it leads to people focusing on a number rather than the actual points I made. I prefer people to hear and think about the points I make, and just decide based on that if they agree or disagree with the points I made, rather than the score I presented. Long ago I gave Moe Chronicle a 6.5 out of 10. This has never sat too well with me. On one hand, while it definitely only feels like an above average-ish first-person dungeon crawler, the game belongs to an even more niche category than that, and in terms of its actual niche, it's among one of the best out there. So what perspective do I attribute points from? In my opinion, it's best to just not attribute points. And the last thing I'm going to cover in this update video is the future content. Demonetization isn't changing anything. Well, actually it might get even more easygoing and loose-lipped around here, knowing it won't make a difference with some games, but I'll try to keep it classy. September's videos may be a bit slow or even non-existent. Every October, I try to put out a few videos on survival horrors. Survival horrors are my second favorite genre, with JRPGs being my first, but this is the only time of year I take to talk about them. I'm currently preparing the videos for October, of which there will be 4. 3 videos will be retrospectives of Fatal Frame 1, 2, and 3, and the 4th video will be on White Day, a labyrinth named School. If I can fit in regular content, I will, because there is a lot coming up I want to talk about, but as it is right now, between my day job and the horror video editing, I'm working around the clock, and I hope you guys enjoy what's to come. I hope this video doesn't shatter any of your illusions around me. It's really hard to word any of this and say everything I feel like I need to say on it to be as clear as I possibly can and get my point across. But I do have to set a firm line and some clarity on some of these issues, and I hope you guys understand. So I'm gonna leave it at that. This is a bit of an awkward video for me to make, so if you guys made it this far, thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around, and I hope you stick around after this. So why don't you pay the bill?